Hey guys, don't forget that this episode is brought to you by San Marcos Mexican Restaurant, located right here at 2301 Southwest 59th Street in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Check them out as they have weekday specials. And don't forget Wednesday, $5 margarita day, frozen or on the rocks. It's the best medicine to get you through that hump day. And don't forget, even better customer service along with great food equals for a great experience. San Marcos Mexican Restaurant, the only restaurant of the Cine-Men movie podcast.
Want a piece of me?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Happy Monday, moviegoers. Welcome to episode 201. Welcome to Thor: Love and Thunder, and welcome to the Cine-Men movie podcast. I'm your host, Juan, and I am joined by the cast, the crew, the guys. Zacchaeus.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Craig. We cannot hear young Gregory yet. He is technical difficulties.
He's doing the silent movie mode today.
That's what happens when you experience live. We're not on location today, but we are still live here on Imuswa Productions YouTube channel. Zach, before Craig gets in here, how's your week been? You have a good week?
I had a pretty good week. How about you, Johnny?
Real good week. Very good week.
Check.
There we go. There it is.
Craig, what about you? You have a good week?
It's been hot, but
It is
other
hot.
than that, I've had a good week. Yeah,
And it's not going to stop. I just saw the weather.
I'm gonna say it all the time. I'm not gonna stop.
Yeah, we got like 11 more days of 100-degree weather here. I could have sworn we were in Oklahoma and not deep south. Not the deep south. Yeah,
it's hot.
it is hot. But you know what, guys? It feels like it's been forever since we've hopped on and recorded. And episode 200 was just 7 days ago. Live from Historic Rodeo Cinema 7 days ago. We recorded and talked live about Independence Day. So if you guys have not yet checked out that episode, go check it out on YouTube, on this channel, or wherever you listen to podcasts at. Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon Music. And thanks to Prescribed Films Network, hashtag the PFPN, you can check us out on a podcast network. We're over there, so go to www.prescribedfilms.com. And speaking of prescribed films, we got Halloween Palooza coming up October 7th and 8th in October. So that's going to be, our first. Not only is there going to be live podcasts there, but there's going to be some film festivals going on. It's a horror con, a horror podcast. So the Cine-Men movie podcast will make their presence known live and in person October 7th and 8th for Halloween Palooza. But let's get into it, guys. It's been a while. You guys can find us on the social media pages, handing out some giveaways. Some digital copies are coming up again. Facebook.com/the Cine-Men movie podcast. The Instagram is all one word, the Cine-Men movie podcast. The Twitter is at Cine-Men405. And then you guys can email the show. We have an email bag at the end of every show that we will read some emails out. CINEMEN921@gmail.com. And we'll get into it a little bit later on as well. Craig, we didn't get the good weekend. You said other than being hot.
Let's see. What did I do this weekend? I went full dad mode. Went to Lowe's, bought a light fixture, and put up a new light in the kitchen. So it gives it a whole new vibe. I feel like it's a new house. So I'll just do that with every room.
Wait till you paint that garage door.
I don't need to paint the garage door.
Zach, what about you? You have a good weekend?
I did. Yep. Get to talk about Thor: Love and Thunder today, and overall, it was very peaceful. Honestly, not a lot happened. Just kind of hanged out almost.
A good week. Again, thank you everybody for joining us, whether it was on Spotify or in person, for episode 200. Personally, I want to say thank you to everybody involved, whether it's you three, Ed was there, anybody who showed up and participated. Thank you to Rodeo Cinema. Can't wait. And we're going to go back. We're not done. We're going to be there July 31st, Sunday, 1 p.m. for a live podcast lobby screening of Everything Everywhere All at Once. So that's Sunday, July 31st. But Zach, speaking of Rodeo Cinema, you
Mm,
have some good old things to say about Rodeo Cinema, don't you?
absolutely. I think all of us would, especially since we did our 200th episode there. Rodeo Cinema, a nonprofit art house movie theater located in the stockyards of Oklahoma, located on 2221 Exchange Avenue. They're currently showing Elvis, the biopic starring Austin Butler and Tom Hanks, and official competition with Penelope Cruz and Antonio Banderas. Like Johnny said, please come and check us out on July 31st, where we do a live lobby show and do a watch along and do the show for Everything Everywhere All at Once. So, Rodeo Cinema, tell them that the Cine-Men Movie Podcast sent you.
Nice. So now that we got some of that out of the way, again, Zach said it best. Rodeo Cinema, go check them out. Now it's time to get into some movie news. I don't have much, but if you guys have anything that you want to bring to the table, by all means, smack dab it on.
I don't have. I want to say there was something big that I saw, but I do not remember what it was. So
Disney announced that they had the Disney Awards. They put a team together, and I guess they're going to categorize this thing, and they're supposed to be making like a big old presentation. They want it to be as big as whether it's the MTV Movie Awards or in their mind maybe the Oscars. What do you guys think? I'm sure it's going to be one of the first ever live Disney Plus events that they're going to have on Disney Plus, or it might be. I mean, they own everything. They could put it on ABC too if they want. You guys interested? Not interested? Disney Awards? What do you think?
it's just it's one of those things where it sounds weird initially, and I bet once they do it, people will love it. Or it's sink or swim with the first one. It's all Disney, so everybody's going to be really familiar with it. They're pretty much giving awards out for their own films and TV shows, so there's kind of no competition for it. I mean, it's like, I'm watching an award be given away to a Disney film. There's no I know Nickelodeon used to do films, and all these other animated studios do films, but it's like all Disney.
Well, maybe it won't be. Maybe it won't be just Disney. Maybe they're going to do like, hey, maybe they'll invite people like The Rock on and be like, hey, best instead of best actor, maybe they'll call it something else. But I think that's what they're trying to do, is something like the MTV Movie Awards.
I mean, at this point, if you look at Disney Plus's catalog, it's basically Marvel versus Disney. I mean, Marvel versus Star Wars at this point. You could literally name the top 5 things, which would be Mandalorian, I'd say WandaVision, whatever.
I mean, you got to look at it. They still have movies that belong to Fox 20th Century Studios, so they still have all those movies and stuff that they can throw in there.
But they don't advertise that as much as the other stuff.
That's true. It's
you
not.
You kind of have to go look for it.
You got to go look for it on Hulu.
Yeah.
What about this? Sam Taylor Johnson is set to direct an Amy Winehouse biopic. He is the director of the 50 Shades trilogy. You guys know I'm a huge A24 fan, so I've seen the A24 documentary about Amy Winehouse. Is anybody interested in what he might do with an Amy Winehouse biopic?
To be honest, I didn't listen to her music. I don't listen to her music, so not really.
Documentary is very good.
I've heard the documentary is very good. Yeah.
There is some talks about maybe Lady Gaga playing Amy Winehouse. So I don't know.
Let's talk about this.
Zach's
We
like,
haven't
next subject.
we are. Craig probably agrees with me, to be honest. Let's talk about this. We haven't done this in a while. Let's talk about the box office.
Good man. I brought that up.
The top 10 films as this past weekend. I'll just run them off real quick. Obviously, what we're talking about today, Thor: Love and Thunder, with 143 million. Minions: Rise of Gru, 210 million. Top Gun: Maverick still holding strong in the top three. It's almost close to $1.2 billion.
Well, instead of talking about total gross in the States, let's talk about the weekend gross. Because for Top Gun being in the movie theaters for just 7 weeks, it made 15 million this past weekend.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Rise of Gru made 46 million opening weekend, or weekend number 2.
Elvis made 91.1 million. Jurassic World Dominion made 8.4. The Black Phone at 62.3. Lightyear's at number 7 with 112.3 million. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, which we're going to be talking about here next month for our A24 series, 963 thousand. Doctor Strange at number 9, and number 10, rounding it out, is Everything Everywhere All at Once. So that's a very diverse group of films for it to be almost mid-July, summer season month, and we have a little bit of A24, we have horror, we have superhero, sci-fi, Disney. So it's interesting.
Has anybody heard or seen advertisement for the Bear's Kitchen on Hulu?
No.
It's getting like a lot of like positive reaction. I just want to see if anybody's checked it out yet. So, but yeah, that's all kind of I brought to movie news. Unless anybody else wanted to bring something.
I wanted to just, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to say, we're talking about Top Gun making 15 million this weekend. That's with Rise of Gru and Thor: Love and Thunder being out. Like, that's 15 million with those two movies, where either you're an adult with a teenager who's going to go see Thor, or you're an adult with a kid who's going to go see Rise of Gru. Like, well, there's one of the two, and then there's Top Gun still making 15. That's I'm curious to know if there's any type of record that movie might break for, like, its length of run, making over like $10 million at the box office and being relevant. Like, that would be interesting to see.
Mm-hmm.
I know that it still doesn't have I don't think it has a Blu-ray release yet, but I know it's probably going to hit Blu-ray probably Labor Day. It wouldn't surprise me if this movie is still in theaters come September.
Top Gun?
Yeah.
Just keeping it in there as long as it's making money.
Yeah, 15 million is a lot of money. So yeah, it's insane to me.
It doesn't really have any competition other than Nope. Jordan Peele's Nope comes out next week. For the horror fans and people that like his films, they'll be interested. And I mean, what else is coming out?
If it does over 10 this weekend and over 10 next weekend, it'll stay in the theaters until it'll go into August for sure.
Oh,
yeah.
Up next, guys, though, this episode is also brought to you by CDR Electronics. CDR Electronics serves the OKC metro area with the best value for your electronics. They pay the most. You can visit them in store at 1604 West I-240 Service Road right here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, or visit them online at cdrokc.com. And so go check it out. They have video games, computers, and anything you need. So go check them out. Celebrate this past holiday with. They also have Blu-rays and DVDs are 20% off right now. So you guys know where I spent my weekend at, of course. But yeah, go check it out. CDR Electronics, the only place that we get our Blu-rays, DVDs, and video games. But Zach, if I'm not mistaken, you got some Zach's facts for Thor: Love and Thunder, some unofficial, early official.
Oh, they're official.
But they're non-spoilers for
Yeah.
Thor: Love and Thunder.
All right, so the top four for Thor: Love and Thunder. Number one, Chris Hemsworth's kids appear in the movie. His son Tristan plays young Thor, and his daughter India Rose plays Gor's daughter. The scene where Korg addresses the children in a cave about the deeds of Thor is a tongue-in-cheek reference to another Australian movie made called Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, which has a similar scene with children hearing about the film's protagonist. Due to its trailer being released much later on, Love and Thunder has broken the record for the shortest gap between an MCU movie's first trailer debut and its theatrical release, with less than 2 months, with a 2 month gap. And Thor wears a vest over a t-shirt with jeans. This is the uniform of Thunderstrike, a superhero who inherited Thor's power. So
nice. And what are those? Those are some
Zach's facts.
Facts. So let's get into some recent watches. I'm sure there's been some things that we've been able to watch and talk about. I'll kind of rapid fire off through mine right quick. So on Independence Day, after the episode last week, I checked out I Know What You Did Last Summer, just because it's a holiday favorite of mine.
Check.
Oh, Craig's setting the mood over there with some music. I checked out fear.com. If you really want to hear my thoughts on that, go check out the latest episode of Friday the 14th UHD, as me and Nick talked about fear.com. And speaking of another episode, I checked out We Were Soldiers. Me and Zach had a fun conversation about that. Checked out Thor: Love and Thunder, obviously. I don't know why, but I rewatched Space Jam: New Legacy.
Why?
It did not. My daughter is obsessed with LeBron James right now.
LeBron James.
So obsessed that she's watching his highlights on her off time on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Tell her to go back to the 09 LeBron, the GOAT, the absolute GOAT.
So I don't know what it is, but she's watching everything LeBron. So I watched that with her. It was still trash. Checked out Edge of Tomorrow and Memory, Everything Everywhere All at Once. And then I checked out Lightyear in theaters as well. I know there was like some mixed reviews about Lightyear. I wasn't obviously excited for it since I didn't go see it day one or opening weekend. But I thought it was okay. Like I don't see why everybody's complaining about, Tim Allen not being in it. It's not a Toy Story like movie. And I'm like, it doesn't need to be a Toy Story like movie. Like this is its own thing. I did talk to you guys earlier about, I was like, hey, I think this would have been pretty cool if Disney did like a live version of Buzz Lightyear and actually have Chris Evans, Buzz Lightyear it up, have a CGI, full-blown story and full-blown movie. But I think with it being Disney Pixar, the outfit looking just like the outfit, other than some off-the-wall different things, I think people just expected too much of this movie. I think they should have just went in and enjoyed a Disney film. I don't know why it didn't make the money, but I thought it was okay. It was decent. It's fine. I'll use Zach's word. It wasn't great. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. I'd watch it again.
You think it's going to fall in that like Solo range of a lot of people are going to really like it, but the majority of people are going to discredit it?
No, I don't know. It's going to be, what's going to be interesting is where are these Disney Pixar movies that have been just okay for the last 6 months? Where are they going to fall come Oscar season? Because the last five or 6 years, Disney Pixar has ran away with Best Animated Feature.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's going to happen this year. You might even be able to say, hey, can old Marcel the Shell be in that conversation this year? I don't know. It's live action, but it also is animated. So, but if I had to recommend anything off of my watch list, at the Redbox, Everything Everywhere All at Once, or just, you know what, guys, we live in a day and age where you can rent these movies on Vudu for like $2.99 now. I would check Lightyear out in theaters before it goes away, because I think with the new Paul's movie that comes out next week, I think it's probably going to be taken out in theaters. And then go check out Thor: Love and Thunder. We talked about We Were Soldiers also. I think that's on Paramount Plus. And you know what? Memory with Liam Neeson, for him just shooting out a bunch of random movies here lately, Memory was not bad. I would put Memory in there with just an It's Fine as well, but it wasn't terrible. So rent Memory for like $2.99 on Vudu. Zach, what about you? Did you check anything out?
With the exception of Thor: Love and Thunder, it was kind of a slow week. Honestly, still catching up with or keeping track of The Old Man on FX, Hulu with Jeff Bridges. We are 6 episodes this week, and then the final episodes next week. But it did get renewed for a second season, which was interesting. And honestly, next week's episode, Malcolm X. Guys might want to carve out some time for the girthiness of 3 hours and 20 minutes. I'm about 2.5 hours into it, and it'll be an interesting conversation. So
I cannot wait. It's always fun when we talk about Denzel Washington, but to talk about that kind of subject matter with Denzel, Spike Lee. I'm a huge Spike Lee fan too, so it's going to be interesting. I can't wait. Do you have anything you recommend, though, Zach?
The Old Man, and like I said, just prepare if you can find it. I think you can watch Malcolm X on Tubi for free with ads.
So instead of 3.5 hours, it's 3 hours and 45 minutes,
basically. So,
but you can rent Malcolm X on Vudu for like $2.99, I'm sure.
Another example.
And for the listeners, I'm sorry, when I had that episode planned out, Malcolm X was on HBO Max. They found out we were doing it, and they took it off HBO Max.
Yep.
So those rat bastards. Craig, what about you? You check anything out this weekend besides Thor?
Thor, watched Toy Story 3 and 4 to kind of finish off my watch of those. Watched The Bad Guys again.
It's a good movie.
It came to, what is it? Paramount, Peacock, one of the two.
I think it's on Peacock.
So we watched that because Adley found out it was on there. So we've 3 times this weekend, I think. Watched Blade and X-Men in preparation for
you've been watching the
well, I was gonna do X-Men and then I couldn't because I had something planned on Tuesday. And so I watched Blade for the coming up podcast we're gonna do for that. Just waiting on the
they already did Blade. You're talking about the
Blade 2?
Oh, not Blade 2, my bad.
Yeah. Sorry, Blade 2.
You're talking about the Fanboys podcast, which is a new podcast here on Imosawa Productions. I got to listen to the first episode where they do review Blade, and man, it sounds like a fun podcast. Craig, I think you're gonna have fun. Which one are you gonna do? You're gonna hop on and do Blade 2?
Blade 2, yeah. It's nice. Like I said, I watched X-Men in preparation for the episode, but I just had some stuff come up, couldn't catch it, and so gonna hop on the Blade 2 one. But
nice.
Other than that, I think that was it. Highly recommend The Bad Guys again. It's just as fun the second, third time watching it. So Sam Rockwell does an amazing job. Not just Sam Rockwell, that cast: Awkwafina, Sam Rockwell. It's such a good cast for an animated movie.
Awkwafina, you know what? I have been bringing her name up ever since I've watched the A24 movie she was in. No, Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah.
Crazy Rich Asians she was in, and then she was in the A24 movie about her grandmother.
The Farewell.
The Farewell. She is just
Shang-Chi.
Everything she's in, she just knocks it out of the park. Yeah. Not to mention it also helps on a hot day. You know, some Aquafina ice cold is also good as well. So
no brand dropping if they're not sponsored.
Exactly. But guys, this episode is also brought to you by OKC Soda Company. It's the craft soda company of Oklahoma with super unique flavors like strawberry shortcake and blueberry acai, made with pure cane sugar and all natural flavors. Visit them at okcsodaco.com. Or you can pick them out, or you can check them out in your local grocers as well. So check them out. OKC Soda Company, the best beverage that we snag for the Cine-Men movie podcast.
Well, we gave out 2 6-packs last week at Rodeo Cinema. So again, guys, when we do these on location things, we're gonna have giveaways. We're gonna have at least something to give away to people that show up. So appreciate the people that did come out and won those. How much do you think those prizes were worth in total? Is it like 150, $200?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it was about a $150 giveaway.
So that's a good little
You know,
giveaway.
yeah, and you know what? We're gonna have something for July 31st. Everywhere, everything, all at once. So again, come out and support us, support everything local. Not only your favorite Oklahoma movie based podcast, but come on and support OKC. OKC Soda's gonna be there and support Rodeo Cinema. So, but guys, now it's time for our favorite segment. It's time for the top five. This week, guys, we are talking our top five movies of 2022 so far. This is always a fun segment that we like to do. Every week, we have a brand new top five. Um, we are 2 weeks past the halfway mark, so what better time than to talk our top five of the year so far? I'm going to rapid fire through my honorable mentions, and then Zach, if anybody else has any, you guys can as well. Hustle, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, After Yang, The Northman, and my official honorable mention, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Zach, do you have any?
Yeah, I'm gonna say "Marry Me," "Jackass Forever," surprise, probably "The Bad Guys," "Hustle," and my official honorable mention, "The Outfit." You got any, Craig?
Nothing for me.
All right. I'll kick us off with number five.
Oh, hold on. Do you want me to try it?
Yeah, for sure.
5.
Yes.
Was it quiet?
It was good.
Okay.
Number five for me is going to be a film that I had no expectation for. Just kind of heard good things here and there. It's based on a true story. Number five for me is going to be Father Stew, starring Mark Wahlberg, Mel Gibson, Jackie Weaver. Follows the life of Father Stewart. Stuart Long, a boxer turned priest who inspired countless people during his journey from self-destruction to redemption. You can check it out on Amazon Prime for $5.99 to rent it. But I highly recommend it. I had no expectation for this movie, and it blew me out of the water. So number five for me is Father Stew. Zach, what about you?
Number five for me, I was very, very hesitant on. I really didn't like the trailers to it, and I really wasn't sold on the man who was playing the man, the myth, the legend. But he knocked out of the park. Number five is Elvis, Austin Butler, and Tom Hanks. I'm gonna go ahead and probably make a prediction that Austin Butler is probably going to be nominated for Best Actor this year. I mean, truthfully, I think I think if he wasn't in the movie as Elvis, I don't think that movie probably would have survived, to be honest. It is Baz Luhrmann. There's a lot of Baz, I guess you could say, for a Baz Luhrmann movie. But just go check it out for his performance, and you can go see it at Rodeo Cinema. So, number five is Elvis.
Number five for me is going to be Sonic 2. My list isn't probably as I don't know, proper as yours. You guys have watched all the good movies so far. I'm late to the party on Elvis and all them, but number five for me is going to be Sonic. I thought it was a good sequel. Jim Carrey knocked it out of the park as Dr. Eggman. It was just a fun movie, especially going my daughter's first time ever in a movie theater. So it'll be a movie that I remember for a long, long time. But yeah, number five for me is going to be Sonic 2.
4.
And Craig, that's what it's all about, man. It doesn't matter, what movie it is, as long as it leaves an impactful memory on you, and it's like, oh, I could definitely watch that again. That's where these movies are sliding right in for me, at least. So yeah, number 4 for me.
Number 4 is going to be X.
Is it really number 4?
Number 4 is going to be X.
I caught that pun.
Number 4 is going to be X. I can't wait to one day talk about it just to see what everybody else's opinions are. This is a horror movie to me that it's more fun to talk about from people's reactions maybe than to sit and actually watch it. But in 1979, a group of young filmmakers set out to make an adult film in Texas. But when their elderly hosts catch them in the act, the cast finds themselves fighting for their lives. So, of course, it's A24, but I went in to this movie probably overhyped, and usually that kind of bums me out and it doesn't set well for me, but it worked out in this way just because of how out there, how brutal, and how kind of vibish this movie is. So number 4 for me is X. Zach, what about you?
Number 4, the movie we're talking about today, Thor: Love and Thunder. So we'll talk about it here in a little bit.
Number 4 for me is going to be Lightyear. Again, it was one of those movies where I had a lot of hope for it. I know a lot of people don't like it or haven't gone to see it to give it that chance, but it's the nostalgia for me. I went and bought a Buzz Lightyear after watching it. I could probably go get it here in a little bit, but I have my Woody from 1995, so I needed a Buzz to go with it. So,
I could have swore that was going to be your number 1 or number 2.
No. It was good. It wasn't great. I did like it. I do think, in my opinion, it's going to hold up for me down the line. But yeah, it's my number 4.
Nice.
3,
Number 3 for me has already been mentioned, so I won't spend too much time on it. Plus, I think it's going to be an episode soon, especially when it hits the Blu-ray. Number 3 for me is Elvis. Yeah, Zach, I have the same idea with you. Before the movie was even announced, or before the trailer had came out, I was like, Elvis, with who playing Elvis?
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, it's gonna be trash. And then I saw the trailer and I was like, holy Jailhouse Rock. I was like, the music, and then come to find out, like, I watched the E special. They had like a documentary on Hulu about him.
Mm-hmm.
To find out that he sang those songs and he did all the performances his own self.
Yeah.
Hats off. And now not only do I hope he gets nominated, but I hope he wins it. I mean, so far I haven't seen hardly anything else maybe that I would give it to. I would even hope Mark Wahlberg gets a nom, but yeah, Elvis is a must-see movie, and if a movie, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. Number 3 for me, Elvis. Zach, what do you got? 3.
Number 3, probably the first big movie of the year, The Batman. Robert Pattinson has a killer supporting cast around him. Zoe Kravitz, Jeffrey Wright, Paul Dano, Colin Farrell. I'm glad Matt Reeves just took it back to basics. Batman's a detective just trying to, quote unquote, solve crime in Gotham. And I think, yeah, it is a girthy film at almost 3 hours, but I mean, Robert Pattinson's performance, I mean, if you were a naysayer or just didn't think he was a good actor, go check that out. I think he's really shredded the Twilight persona and just kind of made it his own style of acting. So the Batman's number 3.
May the girth be with you.
Number 3 is going to be the movie we're talking about today, Thor: Love and Thunder. So that's that.
2,
Number 2 for me. This was a hard decision, boy, let me tell you. But it's all about memories and the way a movie can make me feel at the end of the day. Both these movies are a 10. Number 2 for me is a Top Gun Maverick. If you guys have not heard us ooze all over Top Gun Maverick, go back and check out the episode just a few short weeks ago. Fun episode. Still to this day, our highest downloaded episode of all time. So go check out Top Gun Maverick. That's my number 2. Zach, number 2 for you?
Number 2, it's gotten mixed reviews. I think the critics like it, but audiences don't really like it. Number 2 is the new Apple TV movie, Cha Cha Real Smooth, directed by Cooper Rafe, starring Dakota Johnson, Leslie Mann, and Brad Garrett are in it. And Cooper Rafe, who directed it, is also one of the main characters. A young man who works as a bar mitzvah party host strikes up a friendship with the mother and her autistic daughter. Great performances, and makes you cry, makes you smile, makes you kind of think about where you are in your life and kind of going forward and what you want to do. Terrific movie. It's just one of those films, kind of like it reminds me a lot of the Peanut Butter Falcon that came out 2019, I think. Just once I saw it, I knew it's going to be top 10 movie for me. So
Dakota Johnson's in that too.
Yeah. Apple TV, man,
they're growing.
They're not gonna get any love from me until I get Coda out on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
Number 2 for me, technically 1A, 1B at this point. Like you said, Johnny, they're both 10s. Number 2 for me is going to be Batman. Robert Pattinson knocked it out of the park. It was just one of those movies where we were just kind of like, is it going to be good? Leading up to it. And then I think Johnny was kind of set on it from the get-go, but then
saw it 5 times in the theater.
I saw like that. It was like the first or second initial trailer where it like actually showed stuff, and I was like, "It's going to be $1 billion movie. It's going to be awesome." So, number 1B is going to be Batman.
1.
Number 1 for me is going to be the Batman, just because I'm like 3-hour movie, saw it 3 times in theaters. Surely when I finally get the Blu-ray and watch it, it won't have the same meaning. It did. The hard-hitting action, the psycho, crazy feeling of the Riddler, making it feel like a horror movie at times. And then the just raw emotion from Pattinson at the end when he's trying to save the city and save the arena. That's not all what I wanted in just a Batman movie, but it's also a damn good movie. And yeah, I'm going to be a little bit biased because I get to put the Batman as a number 1 movie. But that's just the way it is. Top Gun is very, very close, though. Don't get me wrong. All these movies are a 10, actually, on my list, except for Father Stew. I gave Father Stew a 9. So all these movies are 10s for me. And I have to have a little bit of light on Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. The episode is in just a few weeks. I highly recommend that you guys watch this movie at least twice before the episode, because it is just a total wrap around mind orgasm. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to like it or love it. So it's definitely one of those movies that is just, maybe it gets better with multiple viewings, but for now, it was just an honorable mention. So I'm still kind of on the fence about this movie.
Is this one of those where, like you said, Johnny, you're either going to love it or you hate it?
No. I don't think you're going to hate it. I think you're going to like it, or you're just going to flat out love it. I think you can respect what they're doing, so I think automatically, mostly everybody should like it. But I don't know. I think one more viewing, I'd be like, okay. So that's why that movie is an honorable mention.
Johnny's sitting there singing Toby Keith. I like it. I love it.
But yeah, the Batman number 1 for me. Zach, what's number 1 for you?
You
Jurassic World Dominion.
Well, I was going to say Morbius, but whatever. No, number 1 is Top Gun Maverick. I mean, talk about just credible theater going experience. Just talk about a film that had just passion and heart and just wanted to do the right thing with as a sequel. Even Tom Cruise is, man, he took his time, and it just definitely paid off, not only with critics but with the box office. It's his biggest movie ever in his career, so hats off to you, Mr. Cruise. And I've seen it twice, and me personally, I think it's a perfect film. I can't find any flaws with it. So that's number 1 is Top Gun Maverick.
Number 1 for me is going to be Top Gun. I agree with you, Zach. Where Batman may have some slow points, it does excel in the cinematic feeling, where it's bigger than what just a film. But damn, did they do everything in Top Gun, top to bottom, the sound, the score, the visuals, the acting, the action, the story. It's not just some sequel. It is a damn near perfect film, if not perfect. So that's my number one.
And it's a fun list, guys. We got some good emails too. Everybody, again, send us in some emails and let us know what your top 5 movies are of the year so far. Hit us up on all the social media, Facebook, Instagram, but email us at cinemen921 at gmail.com. And, we'll talk about, your top 5. So send us in the love. So, uh, we appreciate it. Also, guys, don't forget this episode is brought to you by Red and Blues Pizza. Order now at 405-602-2838. They are located here at 4500 South May Avenue, right here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Open 7 days a week. They don't take a day off. Hot and fresh pizza, better than the other guys, and the deals are amazing. So go check them out. They also have stuff that's not pizza if you want, like gyros, salads, sandwiches, and others. So check them out. Red and Blues Pizza, the only place that we grab some pizza from.
Some za.
But guys, the real reason why we're here, I don't know if you noticed, but we are going to talk Thor, Love, and Thunder. You can go check it out right now in theaters. Highly recommend it. Go check it out. Currently on IMDb, it sits at 7. Rotten Tomatoes at 68%. The Metascore is at 58%, while the Google users are at 83%. With a budget of $250 million, this movie has already grossed $300 million worldwide, and it just came out July 8th, 2022. Thor enlists the help of Valkyrie, Korg, and ex-girlfriend Jane Foster to fight Gore, the God Butcher, who intends to make the gods extinct. Starring Chris Helmsworth, Natalie Portman, Christian Bale, Tessa Thompson, Taika Waititi, Russell Crowe, Jamie Alexander, with special appearances by Chris Pratt, Dave Bautista, Karen Gillian, Sean Gunn, Bradley Cooper, Vin Diesel, and directed and written by Taika Waititi. Guys, let's talk about some director talk. Actually, Zach, you love bringing up some of the filmographies from this director, or from any director, in our newest segment called Director Talk. Do you guys have any maybe favorite movie or two from him that he's done? He's done so many things as an actor, but I think as a director, Zach, what all has he done as a director?
As a director, he's really just kind of came in his own, just like not even a few years, barely just like 5 years ago. He's gone back since 2007 with Eagle versus Shark and Boy in 2010, but his like breakout role as a director was What We Do in the Shadows, which is kind of like a vampire spoof. They've done it into a TV show now on FX. Hunt for the Wilder People, 2017, Thor Ragnarok. 2019, he did Jojo Rabbit, which you talked about. He actually won Best Original Screenplay at the Oscars, which I think is very deserved. And now Thor: Love and Thunder. So I think I really respect what he did with Jojo Rabbit, to be honest, because that was a very that's a type of material that you either succeed at or you fail miserably, and I think he very much succeeded with that. So.
Oh yeah, dude, it took him all the way to the Oscars.
I was watching a sort of interview with him, and when he took Jojo Rabbit to the studio, they were like, "One condition, you play Hitler." Yeah. And he said, "I didn't do any research on the guy because he's not the type of guy that I should give any attention to." So he literally just went in as what he's heard of Hitler, and I mean, you see in the movie what he comes out with, but that's funny that he's like, yeah, I did zero research on the guy, and I think that's pretty cool that he's was able to do that without kind of digging in and not giving any respect to the guy, like actually making an ass out of Hitler in the film.
Exactly. So. Yeah, that's a good way to put that. I'm glad you guys brought that up. Guys, that's what we're talking about. Thor: Love and Thunder. Craig, a few short words. We've all only seen this one time, I think, so we're not going to do first time versus now. But in a few short words, what was it like when the movie was over?
It's weird. I didn't have a few short words. I was impressed with Christian Bale. I'll put it that way. Yeah, just put it like that.
Few short words. I would say, I'd say impressed. Zach?
Yeah, kind of a combination of both of y'all. We'll get into it, but just impressed and just had fun with it. So
get beyond this point, guys. We are 45 minutes into the episode. If you have not seen this movie, pause it, exit, and come back. This episode is going to be audio, so you can pause and rewind and come back. But we're 45 minutes into the episode. Thor: Love and Thunder. Go check it out because we're kicking it off. Spoiler heavy as of now. Christian Bale. I love the way the movie starts, and this is what automatically I was like, sign me up, because I'm not gonna lie. I was like, a fourth Thor movie. Iron Man didn't even get a fourth film. Captain America
It's
technically
getting
barely.
a one, but he technically only had 3.
Well, yeah. Well, even he really only had 2.5.
Right.
So
yeah, that's true.
so like he's Thor. Thor was never really one of my big characters. I wasn't really heavy on Chris Hemsworth in Thor 1 or 2 or the first Avengers. It wasn't until Ragnarok that Watiti picked up and gave Thor some color. So I was like, do we really need a fourth Thor film? But I gotta say, the way it starts off, I thought when the movie first started, and you guys can jump in, but when the movie first started with Christian Bale walking across the desert, I was like, what the fuck? What the is this a kickoff? Are they showing like a Mad Max preview or something? Is that what this
it
is?
jumped immediately into the film. Yeah.
So I was like, I didn't know exactly what it was, but I'm
I like how, because we all, when the movie came out, we were like, okay, he's Gore the God Butcher. We already knew what he was, and it shows him in a light where it's like a 15-minute segment. It gives you all the backstory you need for his character.
Not even really 15. It was short and sweet.
It's about 10, yeah. So it's like, why is he the God Butcher? How is he the God Butcher? And just the story leading up to why he's even doing what he's doing and why he hasn't been around until now. So I think it was a perfect setup. For 10 minutes, short and sweet. Get into the movie.
Yeah, and you saw him in his, I think it was just his regular human, almost human-like form. And then after he took the sword and killed who he needed to kill, I don't know, man. I have to praise Christian Bale, because anytime this guy comes out with something, he amazes me. And then he'll come up with something, and it's like, oh, yeah, it was all right. And then he just, in a movie where you think performances aren't going to matter because it's a Marvel movie, you're like, no, the dude knocked it out, man. And he, every scene he was in, I just completely enjoyed. Even the scenes that he wasn't saying anything, he was just sitting back, chilling, being super creepy. I'm like, man, that's what a villain. That's what you're supposed to feel.
And I don't know how I put this in the group chat, but this movie accomplished what Doctor Strange wanted to accomplish. When there was that moment where the darkness kind of comes up and he's like here and then jumps to the screen in front of you, and it had like that screech like a horror film. Mm-hmm. Perfect. And the darkness with the shadows.
I think Doctor Strange was just trying too hard to be a horror movie with Sam Raimi.
Yeah. Well, point exactly. It was subtle, it was sweet, it popped up on you, because the rest of the movie isn't like that. But then you get him on screen in the shadows and he does it, and it's just like, it got me. That's what horror films are supposed to do. They're supposed to spook you. And I didn't know it was going to do that initially. So
the Guardians of the Galaxy, they were in it for just a cup of coffee, which I'm glad this movie wasn't overly populated with people, and I'm glad that this was more of a Thor story than, because when you first saw
him leaving,
because the last time we saw Thor was at the end of Endgame, right?
Yeah.
And he was going off with his adventures with Guardians, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna have a fucking 3-hour movie with all them in it now. I'm glad they were there for a little bit and they took off.
Yeah.
Kind of show their missions that they were on and all that. I agree. They didn't need a crossover movie like that. They both they have their characters set. They need their own thing. So
Yeah.
What did you think of Jane's cancer storyline?
took me by surprise a little bit to know that that's the kind of the route that they were going with it, and then that's how she got her powers. But same with you, Zach. Just kind of weird or thrown off that that's the route they went.
No, when they announced that Natalie Portman was coming back to do this, I was like, why? You kind of just hated on everything that you've done so far in the MCU, which is only 2 films. But I mean, I think what impressed Natalie Portman the most was Taika's writing on this. It was just like, you know what? I don't know how Jane gets her powers in the comic books, but in this version, having terminal cancer and Milnor able to like suppress that for a little bit, or it gives her almost like steroids a little bit. It really worked for me. I didn't question it. I was just like, okay, so that's how she can control Milnor, and that's how she has her powers. That's all I need to know. So
Well, and she's able to get the powers from Milnor because Thor tells him, she's asleep and he's laying on the chair, and he's like, protect her.
Yeah.
And I thought that was cool that they added that into it. And it's not like, she's just worthy all of a sudden because she was with Thor. I didn't know where they were going to go with it, but that short and sweet answer was perfect. It was good for me.
And I liked how Korg is kind of, like I said in my notes, the storyteller for the story is like, she says, it's like, okay, so here's Thor. It's almost kind of like a previously on Thor.
Yeah.
Here's Thor growing up. Here's what happened between, basically, I don't know, the Dark World and Endgame. They broke up. They got busy doing their own thing.
Yeah.
She got cancer. Thor saved the universe from Thanos, all this and that. And then it just kind of leads back into, okay, so this is where we are. This is where we're going. And I thought that was really good writing.
Yeah, the Korg kind of doing the story it was good. Taika Waititi doing his accent coming in, and he was like, I didn't think Korg would be this kind of character, and after seeing what he did in Ragnarok, he was like, it would be a disservice to the fans to not have him in the movie. So I think him kind of doing that storytelling thing was good because it gives Korg a part in the movie that's not prominent to where you're like, he's not a main character, but he's good enough to be kind of that sidekick / narrator character.
Yeah. I like how we talked a little bit about the Guardians, which I agree with both y'all. I think that you didn't need the Guardians in this. Just have them in here for a 15-minute cameo and send them off for Guardians 3 or whatever. The battle with I don't know, I call them owl people or whatever.
Yeah, they were like owls. Yeah.
And they said it to, and Taika kind of did this in Ragnarok. They took the theme, the trailer music, which was "Sweet Child O' Mine," Guns N' Roses, and they applied it to this film. But it was not just that one. It was "Welcome to the Jungle," which was played during this fight, which I thought was fantastic. Paradise City comes up later, and then "Sweet Child O' Mine." Did you guys like that? I thought it was kind of a Taika trademark.
Very Taika vibes. Yeah. And that's what, like, I think that kind of separates Thor from everything else. And I think that's why the Guardians kind of worked with him going with them, and they were able to do that because Guardians is very music, not necessarily score, but it kind of started with Iron Man, in all honesty, with AC/DC.
Yeah.
But not as prominent. I think Thor using the music when they used it was in good terms. They didn't just throw it in there to throw it in there.
Yeah.
It was in moments where it felt right.
Yeah.
And for the whole movie being based on the term love and thunder, with the whole, I would even say with the whole MacGuffin maybe even being a child, I would say the song "Sweet Child O' Mine," it's the perfect sound. It's the perfect song for the movie.
Yeah.
Especially when you find out at the end of the movie who Love and Thunder really is.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So,
I like the part where he's, he sees that he's just in a spot where he he doesn't feel anything, and Chris Pratt's telling him, he's like, it's better to feel shitty than to feel nothing. And he's like, I don't want to fight. And then he's like, Thor, we need you. And then he goes down and he's just like, eat my hammer, I think it was what his line was. It's just funny that all the little trinkets that they used of like catchphrases and the feelings and the relationship between him and the hammers. I think all of that was cheesy at the moment. You're like, why are they doing this? But it works. For some reason it just works, where he's talking to an inanimate object and there's no response from it, but you feel that connection between the two. It's just, for some reason, it works.
Yeah, for sure. And then you have the amazing gift of the goats.
Oh my god.
That is one thing that I did not like about this movie.
What?
Oh,
initially the goats were funny, but every single time they came in, it felt like when Wonder Woman gets that Amazonian music playing, it was like, no, like I don't need it every time they come into the screen.
And maybe that's just me. Maybe that's my inner child. That like I was laughing every single time they did that. Like
I was laughing, but I was like, man, imagine watching this 3-4 times down the road.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that.
It's funny now, but the rewatchability, you're gonna be like, there's those damn goats.
I think it was just so funny because of how the Guardians reacted to him.
Yeah.
About how, I even think Carrie Gillian's character was like, let me just put it out of his misery. And she starts chasing him around with a gun. I'm like, okay, this is pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of the God Butcher kidnapping the Asgard kids? I had a really big, Batman Returns vibe from like when the Penguin snatched up the kids. I was like, oh, this is pretty dark. And that whole scene where you finally get introduced to Lady Thor of, Jane in her full getup, and Thor's like, you look just like me, take my helmet off.
And then he changes to her helmet.
Yeah.
That whole scene is it's a very good, very well put together fight sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like how, I think, Craig, you mentioned it, was just the horror aspect of it was Gore. He's a shadow. He can literally go anywhere, everywhere, all at once almost. And it's just, I think, the movie, I think all of us are going to give this a good grade. But I mean, like, without Christian Bale, I think he, in my opinion, is probably one of the best villains we've gotten in the MCU, probably since Thanos or even Killmonger. So
at the same time, you're almost like, is he really, like, I know it's kind of looking towards the end of the film, but I question if he was really actually a villain.
Yeah. I think I think one of the other things I love about it was that it's not connected to anything. This is a singular, singular story. It's a singular villain. It's not connected to Kang or whatever's going to come up next. It's a revenge story. That's basically what it is. Yeah. And I think, go ahead, Johnny.
Oh no, you hit it right. I was almost going to say, I would almost call it more of a love story. Yeah, Christian Bale's asking for revenge, but he's only trying to get to eternity for his daughter.
Yeah,
and it's so real life when in the black and white sequences, which I absolutely adore.
Perfect.
Yes, when Christian Bale is like, you know what kind of person would I be if I did bring my daughter into this world full of hate, full of suffering? Maybe she's the one who actually won.
Yeah.
When he hit those words, dude, I don't know who wrote that script or who wrote. I mean, if it was Taika.
Taika.
There you go. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about some chips right now. But if just that dialogue right there, it was just like so smart, because nobody watching an MCU film, when they hear that dialogue, I wonder how many people actually sit there and was like, dude,
not many. It was,
because that dialogue for me was just so powerful.
Yeah.
His daughter is gone, is dead. And he's like, she wins. I don't want to bring her back into this world. I'm just like, I'm not expecting that kind of dialogue from a superhero flick. And I'm like, God, I think Christian Bale just delivering it on spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the small things like that just make this movie for me better
just
than
better.
Strange, Spider-Man.
Well,
I don't know.
so the reason that I think that he's not a villain is because like you said, he's only doing this because of the fact that the gods are simply like, you're replaceable, you're nothing to us.
Yeah.
And he sees that as everything, and so he's like, I'm taking out. And even Zeus even kind of emphasizes it when they get to Zeus. But going back, he takes the kids and he does nothing to them. He's simply holding them to get Thor to bring the
Stormbreaker.
axe.
Yeah.
And when he's sitting there and they're talking about taking the head off of Thanos in the cage, and then he just pops up out of the shadow and he's like, he pulls up that worm and he takes the head off, and he's like, "What? Why are you crying? You were just laughing about the head being taken." Like, dude, the way they shot Christian Bale and the way this character was done, I agree with you, Zach. He's one of the best villains. He's got to be top 3.
Yeah.
I mean, just the way that they and it's all the way they portrayed him. He could have been just some guy that came out and used shadows here and there, and maybe he didn't even use the shadows, just use the shadow creatures.
Mm-hmm.
But the way he's able to just kind of go in and out of the shadows and come in, it was all beautifully done.
And it's just, I mean, and we're giving a lot of credit to Christian Bale, but it's more than that. I mean, it is his performance, but it's also the makeup, the visual effects, the costume design. It's everything that makes that character. And I read something interestingly that in the comic books, from what I understand, Christian Bale came up with the whole look of Gore because in the comic books he looks more like Voldemort from Harry Potter. So it's just like, we need to do something different. I think they pulled it off amazingly.
Is anybody surprised that Christian Bale picked up a role like this?
He didn't want to do it. Like after doing Batman, he was done with comic books, and I think it goes back to Taika. He kind of convinced him to say, "Hey, I think you'd be good as his character. I think you'd be good as a villain." And he read the script and just said, "Yeah, let's do it."
I think the one thing that probably sold Christian Bale more than anything is, "Hey, you're only tied to this one movie. We're not going to bring you back for anything else."
I think that's true.
And it was probably a nice, wealthy payday.
Yeah.
He's going to have a good Christmas.
I think, there's a lot more to talk about this movie. I think my only nitpick with this movie, to be honest, is Tessa Thompson. And not in a bad way, but she's only in the movie for about maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think she's awesome as Valkyrie, and I would like to see. They kind of hinted a little bit more of her backstory, especially with that scene with her and Gore.
Yeah, when he's talking about her sisters.
Yeah, I think just have more Tessa Thompson, please. That's my only complaint.
I agree with you, but I think if you did add more Tessa Thompson, that movie probably would have went from an hour 58 to 220.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
true.
That's something that they did have to do away with because Spider-Man No Way Out or No Way Home was girthy. Doctor Strange, even though it was only 210, it felt like it was forever. So I think this was a breath of fresh air from the last 5 Marvel movies, honestly.
And so we can jump back to the planet whenever they get to the Shadow Realm, but I like how Tessa's injured.
Yeah.
Thor finds out that Jane has cancer, and he's like, no, that's it. And then they take Thor from that and push the story. And I think from there, it's just like, okay, here's the story. All right, we're finishing it. Here's the climax. And I think that the way that they just peel it off like a Band-Aid, like, you two are done. It's Thor's story. He's going to go finish it. I think it was good the way that they did it.
And I like there was stakes too, because I thought for a second they were going to kill off Tessa Thompson. I was like, oh. But the biggest stake is that the more Jane uses Mjolnir, the faster she's going to die. Yeah. And I think for Thor to have that conscience of, I want you to help me, but I want you to be alive so we can be together, was a very, very powerful.
It was a powerful scene.
Yeah. Powerful conflict that he had to kind of deal with.
Yeah. And, you don't usually deal with that a lot. The last time you dealt with a conflict like that was kind of going back to Infinity War and Endgame. Infinity War being Black Widow with Hawkeye, and then Endgame being Iron Man saying, I have my family here. But he couldn't live with himself knowing that he had the ability to time travel and all that. So I think those were the only time the stakes were up.
And in Infinity War, where Thanos had to give up Gamora for the stone.
Right.
What do you guys think of them going for Thunderbolt and you get introduced to Zeus and Russell Crowe being Zeus?
I thought he was going to be just this badass dude, and he's just...
It's Fat Crow, man. Kind of taking on the name.
You're not going to be here for the orgy.
Do you think if they would have not shown that in the trailer, that would have got a bigger reaction? Not so much that the flick, but just Russell Crowe as Zeus.
No, because I think half the people going and seeing this movie don't know who Russell Crowe is.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially in that costume, it was kind of tough. A little bit. Not from us.
But I think, Zach, you guys both said you don't think Christian Bale was the one true villain in this movie. Heavy effing spoilers. Yeah. I think the big main villain, not for the MCU, but just the main villain, got introduced as Zeus, especially with what you see in the post-credit scene.
Yeah.
So
that
could he come back with Man in the end credits and come back and them two kind of team up and go after Thor in the next one?
Do you? That's another thing. I want to get there. I want to save this in the notes because I know we're going to be jumping around. Does Thor deserve a 5th movie? I know it says Thor will be back, but I mean, I know he probably deserves it. But I mean, I guess if they keep popping funny ones out like this that are making $300 million opening weekend, of course we're going to go see it. Well, episode 395, we're going to go talk about it. But like, do you but I don't a 5th Thor movie?
I think it's really going to come down to this. Not Thor. He's basically Thor, but Chris Hemsworth has basically said, I'll play this character as long as people want me to play it. But it also comes back to... Go ahead, Chris.
He also said he'll play it as long as there's a good character arc.
Exactly, because I think if Taika doesn't come back for the 5th film, that'd be the 5th film?
Yeah.
Then I don't see any reason to do it, to be honest. Because if it wasn't for Taika and Chris Hemsworth, I don't know if I was going to be interested in it, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know. But another thing I wanted to point out was I know he bulked up for coming back as Thor, but did you guys see how jacked Chris Hemsworth was?
Yeah.
Dude's jacked.
And I know he's getting ready. I don't know if you guys know, but he's getting ready to play Hulk Hogan in a biopic. So I know that had a lot to do with it, but that dude is massive. He's been taking his
brother.
Yeah, he's been taking his vitamins, saying his prayers. I'm going to be very, very interested to see how he looks as Hulk Hogan. And is it going to be like 80s Hogan, 90s Hogan, or is it going to be like
Hogan?
Yeah, I don't know what it's going to be, but I think it's going to be pretty cool. So
he also has Extraction 2 and Furiosa, the Mad Max spinoff. So
when we're on the boat, which was funny because he's like, we need transportation because Stormbreaker has the power, but so they take the like ferry boat that they use for the amusement park of Asgard.
Yeah.
When Korg is telling the story about how he was made, it threw me off when he was like, yeah, my 2 dads. I was like, okay, what? And then he's like, yeah, they held hands over a molten rock, and I died. I legit laughed my ass off when he was telling that story. And, kind of jumping ahead, when he's telling the story at the end and he met the guy named Steve, and they were at the rock holding hands, I was just like, only Korg could fucking tell that story and it'd be absolutely hilarious.
And get away with it.
Speaking of Asgard, what did you guys think of the play from Asgard with
Matt Damon?
That annoyed me really bad in Ragnarok, but I don't know. They just pulled it off so well in this one, and then bring in Melissa McCarthy as Hela. It's just what.
It's like one of those things where it's like it doesn't need to be in the movie, but I'm really glad it was just because of how funny Matt Damon and I don't know who the other guy was.
That's
Luke Hemsworth.
That's his brother.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it was really funny. And
Which,
then go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was just gonna say, and then they all kind of rise up. And then,
I like how they made Asgard like a destination attraction place. It's just like this is literally a whole world that's been demolished, and then now it's kind of like, come to Asgard. We got the theater. You can come see Mjolnir. You can come do all kinds of stuff.
Drink Asgardian beer.
Yeah.
What's that? The snaps too.
Oh my god, that killed me. It
Well,
was the ice cream snaps.
The ice cream snap.
Oh,
Yeah.
Infinity cones.
yeah,
yes.
Infinity cones.
So I went to Penn Square over the weekend on Friday, and there's actually a cup at one of the stores up there that does like pop culture stuff, and it's a cup that says Infinity Cones, and it has the hand with ice cream. It's fun.
That killed me, man. And but that's what I'm talking about. That's like the genius of Taika's writing. It's just like I wouldn't have been able to come up with that, but it's just like, hey, what if we have an ice cream parlor named after the Infinity Stones? So
And-
that's brilliant.
And for some off reason, like it worked, and it wasn't
It
like
worked.
this movie wasn't overly the pacing wasn't, I wasn't sitting there
No.
looking at my phone. The movie just flew by.
And it's barely 2 hours. And
Yeah,
for
and
that
it's-
to be a Marvel movie, that's impressive.
My nitpick, and this is a small one, I'm not saying this is a perfect movie and I'm going to give it a 10, but my nitpick was I feel like maybe a few too many minutes were just spent on some of the kids.
Yeah, I wish there was more interaction between Thor and Gore.
Yeah, like I feel like he didn't have to go and close his eyes and go see the kids in person for a little bit, but I mean it was leading up to a story, so therefore it's not it's not wasted at all.
Yeah,
But again, I'm not saying it needed to be taken out because it felt too long. I'm just saying if I did have a nitpick or two, it would be that. But that led into Tessa Thompson tickling Thor's nose and another funny moment.
Yeah.
and it's cool to see that we see Heimdall's son, who has the eyes to be able to see stuff.
Axel.
Yeah.
Which
He's like, after my favorite band. Like, that's the small stuff where it's just like little one-liners. It's in, it's out, and you hear it and you laugh at it, but it doesn't take time to tell the joke.
But it doesn't distract you. It's just like, really? They do an Axl Rose reference. It's like, no, that makes sense because we already heard 2 Guns N' Roses songs. So
yeah. But the fight on the Shadow Realm, on that, and you think it's going to be this huge planet, and then they just go ship first into the rock, and the goats are like, died. Like they get on the rock, and you when they're coming in, it kind of goes from color to black.
Yeah,
dude, I absolutely love that scene. That might be one of my favorite scenes when they're on that rock in all of the MCU. Like, it was very well done.
And then Natalie Portman has it's a trap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he comes out of the shadows again,
and then like he almost uses Valkyrie and Jane against Thor of like, oh yeah, I slaughtered your sisters. Oh, and you're dying. Who are you going to save, basically? Because I knew I knew he was going to have to make a choice between the 2 of them eventually.
Pulling the old Dark Knight.
He is. And like you said, Craig, that some people might, get turned off by black and white, but that was just masterfully well done. The cinematography, it just looked like it just looked beautiful, I guess is the only word I could say.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
yeah, it did. When they kept talking about was it Valhalla?
Yeah.
Valhalla, yeah.
What did you guys think?
When he goes and sees the friend from the first movie, and she's like dying next to the big dinosaur, and she's like, just let me die, I want to go to Valhalla. And he's like, you're still alive, you have to die in battle to go to Valhalla.
Yeah.
She's like, get me up. He's like, well, your arm's in Valhalla because this chopped off.
So after the black and white sequences, you do get Thor's like Jane goes to the hospital, and you get one more hilarious scene where he's like, somebody put a fridge with no door out there, but I brought you a bunch of snacks. That's where after that you get the serious moments of Thor saying, hey, you have to stay here. But another small thing I like is they don't let you forget that the Avengers are like cops and deputies now. Like the doctor or the nurse is telling Thor exactly what's going on with Jane, and he's like, thank you. And she's like, no problem, Thor. Like
Yeah.
I just like that. It's
Yeah.
they're people now. So
It's they've been around so long and they've done so much. It's like you're one of us. Yeah.
yeah. So I gotta say I really enjoyed that part. But then you get the one on one. Um, you know, what did you guys think of that final sequence when, you know,
The girl uses her little stuffed animal as a way to defeat Gore.
yeah,
So when Thor's like, he's whispering to the hammer and he's like, give him all powers of Thor. And then he's like, temporarily.
Yeah.
Like, and then they're just, I guarantee you, Taika was just like, go crazy with your toys and we're just going to add stuff around you to make it look like you're in a fight scene. And that's probably the direction he gave the kids. And they went crazy.
And it worked.
Magic. Yeah.
Well, and the thing is like, we say this is a very singular story, and I think we all appreciate that for this movie. But like you said, Craig, that's where it is a joke line of only temporary. That goes all the way back to the first Thor of he's always afraid someone's going to take the hammer and take his power. So that's just kind of nice, paying homage to what's came before.
Yeah. And throughout the entire movie, he's doing that. He's like, it was his first. It was his first hammer, and then Stormbreaker comes to his hand out in front when he's trying to call it. It's just the way that, like I said, the way that they kind of manipulated the whole X with Jane into the X with the hammers.
what'd you guys think of that?
I laughed. I mean,
it's so silly that it works. And again, it's Taika doing his thing.
There's that one scene where I think they're about to take off from New Asgard, and he's just saying, "Yeah, my X is back, my X hammer's back," and then like Stormbreaker just comes slowly into frame, like, "Hey, I'm still here," So it's like that's yeah.
Yeah, they just talk. I mean, there is some people out there who are harping on this movie, like it's not getting the love
that
like
other
it should
movies
get, that it's getting, that you thought it might get. It's getting more thunder than anything. See what I did there? Is that I think and we have some emails that I'll get into later, but there's people upset that it doesn't cross into any other Marvel movies. There's a lot of people that are upset that there's too much comedy into it, and I'm just like, I enjoyed
agree.
myself.
The movie was very comical, and sometimes it almost felt like, okay, are we ever going to get to a serious part? But there's every other Marvel movie is serious 90% of the time, jokes 10% of the time.
Yeah.
Thor's character is just some dim-witted god who's not from Earth, and he's still getting accustomed to everything. And so everything is kind of a joke to him because I think that's a part of his character. He doesn't want to be taken too seriously because of how he's trying to protect himself from being hurt from everything.
But even at the beginning of this movie, he's sitting there meditating and everybody else is having a hard time with the battle. Thor, other than Thanos, has been just such a big Greek god badass that it doesn't take much for him to defeat his opponent, really.
Yeah.
And he can go off and play around and have a good time and not take things so serious because it doesn't take him much to yeah. So and I just like how they tell you that throughout the whole movie. And you know what, I'm glad that this didn't tie really into anything. Gorg narrating the movie, you don't have to go back and watch Ragnarok, you don't have to go back and watch anything. You can just go in and have a good time. And I think we get so caught up in MCU phases, storylines, what's going to happen in 13 years, that you can just go in with this and just not worry about it.
Well, and I agree with you guys with it being singular. Where I would have been upset is if they hinted at something else and then just left it at that one little hint. You know what I mean? If you're going to make it a
Like
multiple movie, make it multiple. If you're going to make it singular, make it singular. And they made it.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just say they made it singular, and that's why it works.
Yeah.
Do you guys think they had so much?
That was an Eternals reference, right? When the kids are fighting and that big statue falls off. Was that the Centennial or whatever it is? Was that a reference to that?
I think they consider those one of the eternal beings because that's where eternity was.
Yeah.
So,
what do you guys think? I think they had so much backlash from Shang-Chi, Eternals, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, that everything was so hinted at being connected to something, and then at the end of the movie when the credits hit, they're like, wait a minute, we didn't get no kind of lead ons,
Yeah.
you know. But with this one, I think they learned their lesson. The only lead on you get is that perhaps Thor should be back, and his next maybe villain is maybe already set, and it looks like
Hercules.
it looks like it might be Zeus and Hercules getting some revenge going on. Let's talk about that because now we're going. I- I'm not a comic book guy. Look
Yeah.
behind me. It's all about movies. So what is it like? Zeus and Hercules, we know the story. We know the Greek gods. We know the stuff like that. We know the Disney movie, of course. Different Hercules, I think. But what is the story of Thor, Zeus, and Hercules? I know the story of the gods and all that, but like, where does Thor fit into all this? Craig, do you
I, I
know,
I
or is
would have
this
to dig in a little bit. I even was talking to Cole about it, and I was just like, why are they bringing Hercules into this? I feel like with somebody like Thor, if you're going into a fifth film, I don't feel like Hercules is that guy to be the header villain of the fifth film. And I hope it's not something that they pull off with like Doctor Strange and Mordo, where it's like they tease him and he's like the first villain. I'd be fine with he's the first villain in the next movie, and Thor immediately offs him and like offs him and Zeus, and it's like okay, it was a teaser trailer, but that's not what this movie's about. I would be
Mhm.
cool if they tease that as the main villains for the next one, immediately kill them off, and then you get somebody else that you have no idea about. I think that would be awesome.
And then I wanted to bring up the point because it's we're roughly 40 minutes into just talking about the movie, but an hour and a half in. What'd you guys think of? There was one small mention of the tattoo of Loki on the back when you saw Thor's ass, but you didn't hear, see, or even get a glimpse of Loki. Are you fine with not even showing up for just a little bit after the series,
You
or
see,
what do you guys think?
see that I thought that was going to be the stinger of this, where it was the post-credit scene of okay, this sets up Loki season 2 or whatever, because that would make a little bit more sense to me instead of the Hercules thing. But I mean, we're going now into the mythological
Realm of
Marvel. Yeah.
Which is fine for me because I don't feel like I don't need any storylines from Thor 1, 2, or 3 or phase 1, 2, or 3. Just let Thor go be his Greek god superhero. And I don't even,
even if you took Thor
And
completely out of the MCU and just
exactly.
left him in his own solo stuff, being the
Yes.
god of Thor or
Yeah.
the king of Asgard, and just doing all of that, there's plenty of mythological stuff that you could go off
Yeah.
of and do.
I think
You could do
we get
like
so caught up in phase 4 going into phase 5. I don't even think I agree with you, Craig. People were so caught up with DC. Oh, you got to hurry up and do a Justice League movie, that now that they've noticed that they can just create their own characters, maybe in the same world, but have good singular movies. Maybe Marvel takes that step into it. They're like, okay, Thor doesn't have to be connected to the MCU. He just got done putting out a $300 million film. Let's just concentrate on Thor,
yeah.
and yeah, just like you said.
And what they could go off of is the god of war, Kratos. You could go off on something like that, where they both, like, it's all mythological and it's all that Greek mythology. I think again, they're so focused on bringing out all these characters, and everybody's thinking there's not going to be enough room for all these characters to be tied into a Young Avengers or Ultimate Alliance. There's going to have to be people pushed off somewhere else. Pushing Thor off in his own storyline, doing his own thing with all that stuff, I think would be perfect because you're able to cover Thor, Tessa Thompson's Valkyrie, and just do that stuff. I think it would be fine.
Yeah.
yeah.
After after you get introduced to the death of Jane, they defeat Christian Bale's character. He passes away, but he was able to bring back his daughter. Jane says she won't be alone. Introduced now, you get Thor picking up a daughter. Even though it shows the God Butcher dying, I know he's probably gone for good because it's Christian Bale and it was a one-off.
Yeah.
But Man, did you guys like the way he just slowly kind of like passed away, or did you guys want to see something different?
He passed the same way his daughter did.
Yeah.
It's he made the choice to not seek revenge and to seek love, hence the daughter being named Love. But it's, again, kind of like we said at the beginning, that's why I don't see Christian Bale as a villain. And you kind of hit the nail on the head. Zeus was probably the villain of all of this. Because he was like, all those are petty gods. They don't matter. He's killing the ones that don't matter. We're safe here.
Yep.
And, at the end, Thor's like, you do what you want to do. I'm going to go be with Jane. And I think him seeing that compassion, he's like, not all gods are the same. I need to seek love. I need my daughter to be back, because I know if I can leave her in the hands of this guy who, in the face of a guy who just tried to kill him multiple times, is going to seek love, she'll be safe with them. And I think it was a beautiful ending on the Affinity landscape. Very well done. Not all villains have to be or stay villains.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Then you get the fun Pap Flack or Jack Flaps, Pan Flap scene.
Well, and to me, when they finally reveal the title of the film, Love and Thunder, it got me. I was just like, oh, okay, it's a cool tie-in, basically. It ties everything up.
Yep.
And to me, I mean, I agree with you guys. Like, I don't think we need Thor in the Avengers anymore. I think eventually, whether it be a team up or Secret Alliance,
a cameo
or whatever, just a cameo. We've had Thor, and one of the things I thought they were going to kill either Chris Hemsworth off, or do something where Jane is Thor now, because it's in the comic books. And there was like a featurette saying Chris Hemsworth looks back on 10 years of playing Thor, and usually that's a sign for, Chris Evans did it, Robert Downey Jr. did it for 10 years, and that's it. Not because I don't think they wanted to do it for 10 years, but that's just how many movies he's done in that time frame. So
10 years is a long, long time to portray one character. And, back in the day, you couldn't get away with it because things just got so stale so fast. But, now with technology and the great minds like Watiti, I think it's perfect. And you know what? As long as they put out good content and good stories like this, I'm all for it. Yeah. You got to have fun at the movie theater. You can't just go and watch and be super artsy serious 98% of the time, or it's gonna burn out.
Or you sit there questioning why you even paid money to see this.
Yeah, or the storytelling that you go see that's so artsy all the time just might be so damn depressing. To me, honestly, Thor was a breath of fresh air, not only from what the MCU was pushing out, but from what I had been watching lately. Yeah. I'm like, what? It's good to just laugh and have fun at the movies.
Yeah.
Even if the budget is $250 million.
Or even if your theater's AC was broken and they had fans blowing the air in.
Was that you?
Shout out to the AMC at Quail, yeah.
Wow.
And he always goes to Quail.
I persevered. My back was sweaty when I got up.
I don't know.
Were you in the Dolby?
That.
I was in the Dolby.
It
wasn't like super hot, but it was warm.
If I'm uncomfortable, the movie automatically is going down because I'm uncomfortable. Hence, Jurassic World Dominion was like that.
And it wasn't too bad in there.
And some other movies though, man. Like if it's
you
warm
had that with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
Was that the one time you went to the AMC?
Yeah.
By Crossroads.
Yeah, I went to the AMC, and it was a 3.5-hour movie. Electricity went off. It got warm. No AC. Came back on, and I'm just like, I'm talking about this movie in like an hour, and I'm over here sweating Crisco because of there ain't no damn AC. I got to be comfortable, man. If I'm not comfortable, I'm not enjoying the movie, then unfortunately it's not the movie's fault, but the grade's going down because of the damn theater.
But I told them, I was like, look, if you guys are going to have issues like this, you need to at least let us know. You need to have somebody at the front door like, hey, the AC in this theater's off. You can either watch it or you can head over to the people at the front, tell them your issue, and we can get you set up with something.
Yeah. Refund the ticket.
Well, I got 2 free because I was like, after the movie was over, I was like, hey, that's what I told him. I was like, hey, I don't care if you have issues. I know things have issues. like Penn Square Mall was all sorts of messed up. But I was like, I know you guys have issues. I'm not going to sit here and complain, but knowing the issues going on in the theater, it would have better helped me let me know, because I don't want to sit there and watch 30 minutes of Thor and then have to get up and leave and be like, because then I'm just going to be contemplating, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I'm going to watch it, I want to watch it.
Just give us a heads up that something's wrong.
Yeah,
exactly.
My theater was ice cold.
Did you guys have a good crowd?
Good crowd.
We had a really good crowd with ours.
Oh,
yeah.
My hammer's at work. I got the hammer tin, the popcorn bucket.
Good place to leave it, buddy. Could have showed it off here.
I have enough stuff here, obviously.
You not see all the Iron Mans and the Infinity Gauntlet?
Don't you have the other Thor hammer?
No. I sold that one a long time ago.
Dang it. Did you ever get the Captain America shield?
No.
Mother.
Never did. I know.
You just got the glove and the mask behind you.
And I got Black Panther on the other side.
Did you get the Iron Man Infinity Stone or Infinity Glove?
No.
Get out of here.
Bro, if I would have done every single one of those, I'd be at like $1,200.
You'd be broke. You'd be broke.
But no, I got the Doctor Strange box from Multiverse of Madness, the hammer, and then the popcorn tin next to it.
Which I'm sure in retrospective you kind of wish you had the Thor one now instead of Doctor Strange.
No, I have both. I have the hammer and the box from the movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Thor and Love go off and they have a good ending, hence Love and Thunder, like you said, Zach. First
Ford
credit
narrating.
scene. Yeah. First end credit scene, you get Zeus introduce Hercules. Did anybody go back and double check and see what Hercules is played by? Or is it a nobody?
I haven't seen the show, but if you've seen Ted Lasso, he's played by one of the guys off that. I think he plays one of the football players or something like that. So he's kind of a no name, but if you watch Ted Lasso, you know who he is, I guess.
Yeah, that's on my watch list, Zach. No, I'm just messing with you. So you get that first post credit scene, and then the very last one you get Jane up in Valhalla. Her ashes turn to her full body, and she meets Idris Elba.
Yeah. There was a guy sitting next to us.
Were you guys expecting somebody else? I heard some people. I didn't mean to cut you off there, Zach. I heard some people complain that they didn't get a Tony Stark.
No.
But I don't know if that introduces anything because he died in battle technically.
Well, he's on a god.
In Valhalla, yeah.
No, he's on a god. It won't work. The guy next to us, when Natalie Portman showed up in her robes or whatever, it's like they were just like, "Is this a Star Wars reference?" Since Obi-Wan Kenobi just came out, it's just like, no.
What'd you guys think of that? Do you think there's any lead to it, or do you think it's just she's peaceful, she's happy, she's there?
That kind of worries me a little bit. I don't know in that realm if people can come back as humans or whatever, but it kind of worries me. And it's like, okay, now we can bring Idris Elba back. Okay, we can bring Natalie Portman back. It's just like, no, just if that is just a realm, have it where a realm where, maybe once every 10 years you bring them back or something, but you don't need them every single time.
I'm not going to dig into it because I know if I start looking into what they can and can't do, I'm just going to piss myself off.
Just leave it.
Because what I think is going to be good from like phase 1 through 3, I was nail on the head. I was getting everything. I was like, Infinity War is going to do this. Endgame's going to do this. Like now, I'm just like, if I guess what's going to happen, it's just going to piss me off because it's not going to be what I think.
What do you guys think about this movie overall in Phase 4? Just the films themselves. I think this by far is probably
introduce or talk about the Phase 4 films again.
Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man: No Way Home, Doctor Strange, and now Thor: Love and Thunder.
What is the final film of Phase 4? Do we know yet, or are we just going off these 6 films?
The next one is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Let me see. Let me look and see what Phase 4 ends with real quick.
I think to answer your question while you're talking about that, Zach and Craig, you can follow. I think so far Thor: Love and Thunder has been the funnest out of the six movies. Um, they all hit different. Black Widow deserved the movie, but it kind of came in a no sense kind of story mode, depending, where the movie was set. Shang-Chi was fun, but dragged out a little bit. Eternals is what it is.
Yeah.
Spider-Man was fun, but just for maybe the nostalgia reasons. I don't know if you guys have went back and rewatched it. I don't know if it hits the same with you guys. I feel like Thor is the most fun I've had at an MCU film in a while.
So we got Black Panther coming out, and
Ant-Man
then
and the Wasp, Guardians 3, The Marvels, and Fantastic Four, but that doesn't have a release date yet. So those are all. So Phase 4 may not even end until like 2024, to be honest.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
since everything was pushed back from COVID,
Yeah.
so we probably got like another 5-6 movies.
We got
So you're talking about 12 movies in one phase?
Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Thor: Love and Thunder, Black Panther, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Guardians, The Marvels, and Fantastic Four. 11 films. That's. I think they could have split that up. After.
Well, I think them knowing that Black Widow technically is not going to be able to go into anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Thor, maybe they knew Thor wasn't going to go into anything, and Shang-Chi, I think they were counting on 3 or 4 of those just being films where they just put them out there.
Yeah.
And then they had 5 to 8 more that are like, okay, let's start building the story.
Has anyone rewatched Shang-Chi since the theater?
Yes, I watched it when I bought the Blu-ray.
Is it a good rewatch?
It was fine. It was 2 hours and 15 minutes of, I only enjoyed Shang-Chi's and Aquafina's chemistry together. Some of the rest is just like, this is long.
Yeah.
Same thing with Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man is getting kind of tough after the second rewatch at home. So
Black Widow felt the same. So far, the best one that has the best rewatchability has been to me.
So
I don't
not
even know. Yeah,
So not Eternals.
Was that even a movie last year? No.
Yeah. Oh.
I watched Eternals when I bought it because I heard the 4K transfer looked really good, and it did. It's a beautiful, beautiful movie, but it's tough. It's tough to watch.
That movie leaves a lot to be.
I think Thor: Love and Thunder will probably be the best rewatchability as far as MCU films. I'm probably not going to go watch it again in theaters, but it's going to be one of those movies that I can't wait to watch when the Blu-ray comes out.
I think the fact of the matter is that we're just in a lull of Marvel right now. I think after the highs of Endgame, I mean, we knew eventually Marvel was not going to be 10, 10, 10, 9, 9, 9, but I mean, the products that they're putting out now, are they bad? Not really. Eternals is probably the worst of them out of all of them.
I think
they don't have the. I just don't think they have like the epicness that they used to have.
I think it's all kind of going into the realm of like super powers. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
everybody's a god now.
Multiverse, or you're a god. You're gonna have Captain Marvel, Eternals, Thor, Doctor Strange with Scarlet Witch. They're all overpowered beings. Whereas you had Iron Man, who was a human in a suit. You had Captain America, who was just a human super soldier. Ant-Man's just a human in a suit that can, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Black Widow, Hawkeye. They were all humans, and I think that's what made it seem cooler and better, because they were just normal people.
Yeah.
But I think when so Kevin Feige came out and said that in the coming months they'll reveal what the next big villain is. I think we might see a glimpse of that in the Black Panther trailers, or maybe even in Black Panther.
Unless Ryan Coogler wants to do a singular film like he did with the first one. There's no connection to Thanos other than this post-credit scene in Black Panther.
I think that's what you're going to get with Black Panther Wakanda Forever. You're going to get Ryan Coogler's own film, the sequel to his Black Panther, and then you're going to get in the post credit scene, maybe a Kang or something that leads into Quantum Mania.
Well, and the other thing, obviously, it's written all over the film, but the biggest thing that Wakanda Forever has to do is just kind of deal with Chadwick Boseman's situation. I mean, whether it be Suri or the girlfriend or whoever, I mean, they kind of have to do a rewrite in sense of the word.
I think this movie is going to be overly powered, filled with emotion.
Yeah.
So therefore, I think it's already kind of
it's already at a disadvantage because everyone's going to be
with. Yeah. But if anybody can pull it off, it's Ryan Coogler.
Yeah.
You're also going to get the introduction of, I think they showed Namor already as
Who?
Namor, the aquatic villain guy.
Oh, they've hinted at that.
That's Jason Momoa. He's in the DC, Craig. No.
And Ironheart. Ironheart's going to be in this, and then her TV series comes out pretty soon too, as well.
Ironheart's going to be in
Black Panther.
From what I've heard.
Yeah.
Who's that? Iron Man's daughter?
It's like a.
They're going to use Wakanda technology to be
enhanced Stark material, basically.
Yeah.
Riri
Williams, do some research.
Will do. I got plenty of time until the next Marvel film comes out, right? We're doing a November release for that.
Yep.
God, and that's another thing. This one just felt like it was like Doctor Strange month, Thor, and now we're gonna have a couple months to kind of
regroup.
Just be like, okay, nothing.
But you know what? I thought that was gonna hurt Thor, but it ended up making Thor feel good and making Doctor Strange be like, oh yeah, we're glad that's over.
And then next year, we're kind of doing the same setup with the Ant-Man in February, Guardians in May, and then the Marvels in July. So it's kind of doing another like 2 months back to back with Marvel.
And then the Marvels, if I'm not mistaken, is Brie Larson sequel, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite scenes, guys? Anybody you want to name off a favorite scene or two from Thor: Love and Thunder?
The Shadow Realm, that whole sequence, the black and white fighting, the spectacular acting with Christian Bale is just, I think, to me, that's the best part of the film. So I'd say that's just my favorite scene.
Yep. You took the words right out of my mouth. If I could choose something that's different, it would be, some of the scenes of when Thor gets first in contact back with Jane when they're having the battle at Asgard. And she comes out looking so badassery, and he's like, "You look like me." Stuff like that was fun. Craig, what about you?
Shadow Realm, and I'll go the ending scene where kind of him trying to get the portal open to infinity or eternity, and the kids having the power of Thor. I think just that leading to the end was pretty good. In the Shadow Realm, at some point, did Gore and Christian Bale not look like Commissioner Gordon? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, he looked just like who played Gary Oldman?
Yeah.
When he's like frowning, he looked like Gary Oldman. You're gonna see that from now on whenever you rewatch it.
That's another funny thing too. If I had to name another scene, because we all kind of had the same scenes, the scene where Zeus flicks Thor and he's ass naked and everybody like passes out and stuff. Pretty funny.
Yeah.
You flick too hard. Rating system, guys. If you guys have never joined us for an episode, we rate our movies 1 through 10. One day we will have a whole like listing of what 1 means, what 2 means, what 10 means. Until then, we're just gonna explain it how it is now. Keep it short and sweet. I have mine written down here. I think I'm going to give this movie an 8. I had fun. It's not a it's not a perfect film, but it's not a bad film. It's not a horrible film. It's a fun movie. I laughed. I got emotional, and there were some badass action scenes. Chris Hemsworth knocks it out. Christian Bale knocks it out. And you know what? Everybody did their part, and you got a fun MCU movie. You got a fun Thor movie. So an 8 from me.
Yeah.
Craig?
I'm going to give it a 7. Rewatchability. I know those damn goats are going to haunt me.
Those damn Daniel Bryans.
Uh, one thing that I think, we talked about how good this movie was with pacing and transitioning and everything like that. I feel like the ending came too quick. We talked about how I wish there was one more interaction with Thor and Gore the Butcher. They get to the portal of eternity. He goes through, and that's it. I just wish there was a little bit more to that ending. So that's why I'm going to give it 7.
Craig or Zach, go ahead and finish us off.
I'll go at 8 as well. I think maybe the being just coming out of the theater being so high on it. I think it initially gave it a 9. I really, really, really enjoyed this. But I mean, I think out of, like you guys said, out of all the Phase 4 films so far, this is probably the most rewatchable. Greg, I know the goats are probably going to haunt you, like you said, but I mean, it just hits all the notes. It kind of goes back to basics of what a Marvel movie should be.
Yeah.
And with the great performances, Christian Bale is by far the best character in the movie. But I was afraid of the Natalie Portman aspect, but I thought she did very good.
You didn't get too much of her.
Yes.
That's how I feel about it.
Yeah.
This was still a Thor movie and felt like a Thor movie.
Yes.
It didn't feel like a
Jane
Thor
Foster
passing.
film.
Yeah, it didn't feel like a
Yeah.
Thor passing the torch to Jane. And I think that's
Yeah.
what you were afraid of, Zach.
Yeah, well, and not only that, I just like if we're gonna bring Natalie Portman back into this, if she really is gonna be the mighty Thor, ultimately what her title is, I just hope I hope they make it where I care. And truthfully, what they did, I think was the best option. So
Yeah, they definitely added value. Because they could have just thrown her in here and been like, "Oh, here's Natalie Portman. She was in the first two. Was she in the second one? Yeah,
No.
the
Yeah,
first
for a little bit.
first 2 Thor films. She's a familiar face. She fits the storyline. No, they gave her a good storyline and a good enough reason to come back into the movie. And
Speaking of familiar
that's all we
faces,
wanted.
yeah, we didn't talk about the small scene where Jane's hooked up to chemo, but you see Kat Dennings come back and play her character one
I know you were
final
happy
time.
about that.
Yes.
and they even bring back, even though it's just like a 5-second scene, Stellan Skarsgård, his character Eric. So they paid tribute to the previous Thors while still doing their own thing, and I appreciate that.
I was glad there was no Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, dude, he was going to be in the movie. They were going to bring him back and Peter Dinklage from Infinity War, but they cut him out.
Yeah, I saw there was a release today that Waititi said that the original cut was 4 hours long, so he had to cut 2 hours of the film out. So
The Waititi edition.
I mean, if they come out and add that as a director's cut, there might be some good stuff in there.
people don't do director's cuts anymore, and it pisses me off.
Unless you're
Look
Zack
how long.
Snyder.
Yeah, look how long it took for Zack Snyder's. And even then, they couldn't call it a director's cut. They had to call it the Snyder cut. Snyder. You guys can send us your star rating for Thor: Love and Thunder. Social media messages, facebook.com/the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Shoot up the DMs on the Instagram, the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Send us a tweet at Cine-Men405, or what everybody else does. Just send an email, cinemen921@gmail.com, and you guys can send us in some mail. We'll read it at the end of every episode, like I'm about to now.
The mail's here.
Ed Ford 96. This is from Twitter.
Ed?
Says Ed Ford 96. This is from Twitter. He says his top 5 movies of the year so far is number 5, Doctor Strange. Purely due to cameos, movie was a dud, but had very cool parts. Dud year really for the second half. Dud year so far. The second half looks promising. Number 4, X. Number 3, Look at Me. Number 2, The Batman. Number 1, The Northman. Travis says my favorite war film is in this order. Number 5, Miracle at St. Anna. Is that
That's a Spike Lee movie.
Spike Lee?
Yep.
I have, you know what, I have that. I've never ever seen it.
Wait till next week. Right on time too.
Spike Lee movie. Number 4, Saving Private Ryan. Number 3, Band of Brothers. Not a movie, but still has it in there. That's
Yeah,
a little
it's a
honorable
TV
mention,
show.
I guess.
Yeah.
Number 2, Apocalypse Now. Number 1, Platoon. So Zach, somebody heard us talk about war movies. Stephanie says Thor was fun. I'd highly recommend it. 7 stars. Jared says Thor was a lot of fun, and I'm glad it was not 2.5 hours long. Christian Bale was the best part. 9 stars. Omar says Fear.com is by far the worst movie I've ever seen. 2 stars. It was a fun stream though. Glad to listen. Again, that's something you guys can check out over on this same YouTube channel, Sawa Productions, Friday the 14th podcast. New podcast, new horror movie every Wednesday. This Wednesday, we're talking about Insidious Chapter 2. So, and then you guys are going to be proud of me. I got to choose the next 2 horror movies after Insidious Chapter 2, and I chose The Witch, which is, we've already talked about over on our podcast, but the one after that, Wednesday,
mark your calendars.
Wednesday, July 27th, we're finally getting to talk, or I'm finally getting to talk Antichrist with somebody. I'm making these guys watch Antichrist, and I cannot wait.
Get ready for the bonus.
That's Wednesday, July 27th.
I might pop in.
They're gonna kick you off this show, bro.
Just to see the reactions.
Wednesday, July 27th, we get to talk about the Big D, Willem Dafoe. Oh boy, that's fun. Kendall says We Were Soldiers is a solid film, a truly underrated war film. 8 stars. Lawrence says, for you guys being on location sounded amazing. Some podcasts I have recently heard do locations, but they don't sound very good. You guys rocked. Independence Day is a little cheesy for me though. 6 stars.
We appreciate the feedback and letting us know how we sounded. That really helps.
Henry says my top 5 movies so far. Number 5 is Thor. Number 4, Lightyear. Number 3, The Batman. Number 2, Top Gun Maverick. Number 1, The Northman. Cody says
Northman getting some love.
Cody says
that was my list. Just The Northman out of there and adding in Sonic to the top.
Oh yeah, that's true. Which you guys can, Northman is getting a lot of love actually, and I'm surprised. And you guys can check it out on Peacock.
Yep.
Cody says Thor was just another superhero film. 6 stars. Not entertained.
Are you not entertained?
I was gonna say, did he do that because of Russell Crowe? Riley says Thor was great. People complaining that needs to hurry up and be connected to other MCU storylines. Need to chill. No rush. We have 15 years. Look at the first phase. Look how long that took. Thor gets a 9 for me.
Yeah, again, that's what we're saying, and that's kind of what I said. If you're gonna make it singular, make it singular. If you're gonna add it to something, go all out and add it to something. Don't dip your toe in it and make us be like,
what does that mean?
What are you doing? Where is this going for it?
Yeah.
What did I just? Okay. No connection need. 9 stars. Sam G69 says my top 5 so far. Number 5 is Scream. Number 4, Doctor Strange. Number 3, Ambulance. Number 2, Thor. Number 1, Top Gun Maverick. Sarah 97 says my 5 best from this year so far has to be number 5, Men. Number 4, The Batman. Number 3, The Northman. Number 2, Black Phone. Number 1, Top Gun Maverick. Quentin says my top 5 Will Smith movies are in this order. Number 5, Independence Day. Number 4, King Richard. Number 3, 7 Pounds. Number 2, Bad Boys. Number 1, Men in Black. Jeffrey says my top 5 movies of the year so far. Number 5, Hustle. Number 4, Marcel the Shell. Number 3, Elvis. Number 2, Top Gun. Number 1, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Coco Crisp says best movies of the year so far. Number 5, Black Phone. Number 4, The Northman. Number 3, Scream. Number 2, Elvis. Number 1, Top Gun Maverick. Uh, Lauren says, I don't know about a top 5 yet, but Mothering Sunday, I think that's right, is by far the best movie I've seen all year. 10 stars. I highly recommend it, and I wouldn't mind hearing you guys discuss the movie. Mothering Sunday. I'm going to have to. Is that out to buy? Zach, I'm going to have to buy it.
Olivia
well,
Colman's in it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Zach, did you lose electricity?
No.
Okay. Oh, there it is. We'll end this one on a high note. Ivan says Thor is a fun movie. Don't go in thinking about it has to connect to anything or any new phases. Just go in with an open mind. You're going to enjoy yourself. 9.5 stars.
I'm glad people kind of came on board with that. It doesn't have to connect. It doesn't have to lead to something. Let's just have a fun film, and that's what we got.
You know, I kind of, you know, was on that train of being upset. Like, when is everything going to start connecting? No other phases have had 11 movies in them. And so if you just throw out a lot of these solo films that might have something to go into it, where, you know, Eternal is a solo, but it has a little bit. Black Widow was solo. What was the other one? Thor solo.
Juan was solo.
Good one. You know, I'm okay with them not giving too much away in these films. I just make it count in the end. Don't add all these characters and then just be like, oh, we're doing this, and then they put it out and it's like, why did you add all these characters if you're not able to fulfill their roles and their script and their story arc?
Yep.
Yeah.
But this Thursday we are going back and talking about 20th anniversary movies. Zach, what are we talking about this Thursday, July 14th?
This Thursday, July 14th, we're talking Reign of Fire, another Christian Bale movie with Matthew McConaughey.
All right. So this Thursday, you can check out Reign of Fire. Me and Zach are going to be talking about the 20th anniversary. The movie is available now on Hulu. You can go check it out. But next Monday,
I like that movie. I might join in.
Awesome. I've never seen it, honestly. Never seen it. But next week, episode 202, we're getting back on our Denzel kick because we're leading into a Denzel episode in December. We're talking Malcolm X, a Spike Lee joint, Denzel Washington.
Is this our first Spike Lee movie?
This is where
we didn't do Black Klansman when it came out.
No, we did the I Am the Revolutionary.
No, that's not Spike Lee.
That's not Spike Lee.
That wasn't Spike Lee?
No.
Are y'all sure?
Yeah.
All right.
But that's what we're talking about next Monday, July 18th, right here at Emerson Productions, 7 p.m. Zach, do you have any final final thoughts on Thor? And are you excited for Malcolm X? I know it's an older movie, and it's girthy, boy, let me tell you. But, it's a great subject matter, and Denzel's at his finest.
Yeah, I mean, you summed it up perfectly. Like I said, I'm about 2.5 hours into it. I'm almost done. It's going to be an interesting conversation. We'll leave it at that. And if you like us, you like the MCU, you kind of want to know what Love and Thunder's about, go give it a chance. I think you honestly might be surprised by it. So those are my closing thoughts.
Craig, you first time watch for Malcolm X? You excited next week?
I think it will be my first time watch. I don't know what to expect. I don't know. Like, I'm excited to watch it as it being a new movie, but I don't know what it's. I know who Malcolm X is. I know kind of the gist of it, but I think watching it in its entirety now with an open mind as an adult, I think would be good, and it'll be a good watch.
Should be fun. Any closing thoughts, Craig, on Thor? Or are you just ready for next week?
Good solo film. It's definitely when I put in the chat, you were like, oh dude, it's just gonna be another Marvel popcorn flick, this and that.
He doesn't just annoy you.
And I was just like, all right, dude, I'm I'm
You know,
just
I got
saying,
I got to say full live reactions for this episode.
but John, don't let that fool you. He was about to shit on this movie, and then he saw it and he was like, "All right, Craig,
Oh, it's really
Craig was,
good.
Craig was right. It is really good."
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed myself. It was one of the best times I had at a movie theater in a long time.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I don't want to hear.
Better than Top Gun Maverick.
that was
He
a
said
long
a long
time for me.
time.
That was a long time for me. You guys know I see like a few movies a week. Highly recommend it, guys. Go see Thor: Love and Thunder. Next week we're doing Malcolm X, and then we're gonna close out the month with Nope, Jordan Peele's new horror film, and then we're gonna kick off August with A24 month. Everything, everywhere, all at once, live at Rodeo Cinema, episode 204. But we'll
I
see
think that's
everybody.
Johnny's line right there.
He didn't do it though, so I had to.
I had to talk. But yeah, A24 month in just a few weeks. Next week, Malcolm X, Denzel Washington, right here on the Cine-Men Movie Podcast.